Good evening. Call to order, please.
Mike Davenport.
Here.
Christopher Espinoza.
Here.
Cheryl Fuller.
Here.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Here.
Terry Pavicic.
Here.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
I'm here.
Nancy Kupka.
Here.
Luca Plauskas.
Here.
And Caitlin Vincent.
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
jacket. I left it in there. Okay. We'll start with the approval of minutes. We need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2022 business meeting and the August 1st, 2022 workshop meeting with action items.
So moved to approve minutes.
Second? That was Joanna?
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Terry Pavicic.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Abstain.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the minutes are approved. We'll move on to the first reception of visitors. Do we have any? To be clear, tonight we'll have the first reception of visitors, the public hearing on the emergency days, and the second.
No, both or all three are for items not on the agenda.
Okay. Moving on, welcome to our brand-new student board members. And this is your opportunity to ask us if you'd like to report anything, or if you just have some questions, or you just want to say hello because it's your first meeting.
Well, we'll start out by welcoming.
Oh, let's welcome them, okay.
Glad you're here.
I know we recognized them at the beginning. So they haven't had much of a school year yet. They've had one day
One day.
to report out
Yeah,
on,
whole
but we
day.
can hear how the first day went. So
I can start. Our first day was really fun. As a senior, we got to do senior sunrise on the turf. Even though that meant waking up at 5 in the morning, it was still really fun to be with all the seniors wearing our South senior shirts. The first day, it was super short. We only went to like half day, but it was good to be back in the building, get to see all the teachers again and see all of our friends. So I'm excited to see how the block schedule will work this week since today was a regular day, but it was a good start to the year.
Great, thanks, Caitlin.
I agree with Caitlin about how it was definitely a shorter day and we didn't get to, experience a whole full day or even the hybrid schedule that we will see later this week. We also had a senior sunrise. We did wake up at 5 a.m. as well. It was worth watching it because we were all able to experience it at the same time and stay as a group and watch each person smile together and see our last year. And obviously, as our school year is gonna go on, I think that together we are going to create an environment that is always positive and cheerful.
all right, great. Welcome both.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome on board.
Okay, we'll move on to the recommendations and reports of the superintendent.
Before I get into my scheduled reports, I do have one thing to add or just to pull out, and that's the fact that District 99 was recognized in the last month or so here as the first, I think it's in the nation, not just in Illinois, to earn a TLE endorsement, so Trusted Learning Environment from COSN, which is the Organization of School Networking. So it's the professional organization for information technology in schools. Our team went through a pretty rigorous process over the last year to demonstrate that we're following best practices in data security and privacy. So we went through the process and are the first, I believe, I know at least in Illinois, but I think actually in the country, to receive this endorsement. So I just want to share that with the board and the public. That's another set of high marks for a branch of our organization.
Well done. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, we have a few items this evening that come back on a regular basis to the board. The first is our concussion oversight team. Per board policy, the board needs to review and then approve our oversight team each year. This is very similar to what we have each year with our athletic directors, associate principals, nurses, and athletic trainers at both campuses. So this shows up as an action item. Any questions from board members? All right, our next item, similar to the concussion team, the board also, starting last year, needed to approve our crisis de-escalation and physical management oversight team. Scott oversees this entire team, and you can see this is primarily members of our special education staff that make up this team, or those that are serving in that department. Now, Scott can answer any questions if you have them.
Scott, how often would you guess we do any sort of physical management?
Most of them are, we have to report to the state every time it happens. So the majority of them are from our outplacements,
Okay.
students that are in a therapeutic setting. But there still are students, so we report that. In the buildings, it's not very often. So I'd say less than like 1 or 2 a year.
Terrific, thank you.
So, but our team is trained in a crisis management. So we have a group of special ed teachers and deans and our campus security and all that are trained, so.
Very
All
good.
right. Any other questions for Scott? All right,
Okay.
moving on.
Thank you.
Grant
Yeah, grant
allocations.
allocations.
This is Gina's report, and this comes to you each year at this time.
So,
Next slide.
just a couple of things about the grant allocations. I know I reported before that we were going to see a decrease in Title I funding. As you can
did.
see, I give the
There it is.
5-year history, so you can see that.
Yep.
Slightly down for Title II and IV, more so for IV. We've held steady or slightly increased on our CTE funding, which is good. And we have an increase, which I was very pleased to see in our EL funding. Specifically, almost, $6,000-7,000 increase, which is really incredible. But we are seeing an increase in EL students. And I'm hopeful, because we even have more students this year, we're looking at over 300 EL students right now. When we only had about 220 around that last year. So we're seeing an increase every year. So that, I'm hopeful that that number will continue to increase since we're getting more EL students and we can serve them.
Does our CASARDA look ahead ever look at that component? I didn't think so. Might have been helpful if it had, but.
Might be too specific for,
Too hard to project.
Predict.
yeah.
And the number will change as the year goes on. Especially here in the beginning of the year, we tend to get quite a few. I usually look at the number right after Labor Day to get a better sense than even the number we have right now. Because we'll have some that
Sure.
may not end up coming and some that. But we've had an increase the last several years in our EL population, so I was very pleased to see that increase in Title III funding. Any questions?
Nope. Thank you.
All right, certificate for excellence in financial reporting. Boy, what year is this running?
It's 20-something.
23rd year running?
Yeah, it's,
We have received from the Association of School Business Officials International the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. So Mark's streak continues.
Very good.
And
And
Jerry's
this
streak.
year, yeah, now we have Jerry there that will pick up the mantle and carry it forward.
do we have any sense for, like, how many schools get that recognition every year? How many districts?
I don't know, it's a national thing, so, and actually international, so I've never gotten a count from them. And just to be clear, it doesn't mean that we're in great financial shape, it just means
Process.
we're reporting
Yeah.
in a way that can be compared to any other school that's in the program across the nation or the state. And they're using the correct basis of accounting, and before when I came here, we were on a cash basis. Whatever was in the account at the end of the month was our balance, but it doesn't mean all those payables in the drawer haven't been taken accounted. So anyways,
This has more to do with transparency and
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 being
some
able to
access.
compare to other schools.
Yeah.
And actually getting a true measure of where your fund balance is.
I think it's a significant accomplishment, just the same.
I'd say,
And
yeah.
it goes to our commitment to being transparent and forthright with the community. So,
Thank you,
well done. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. 2022-23 tentative budget.
All right. This one I will turn over to Mark and Jeree.
All right, so if we flip to the first fund balance, there we go. I know if I'm blocking out some of this here. The key thing is, as we go, we're gonna hit this at a pretty high level. This is still very temporary. We actually just got more information on Friday from the Illinois Department of Revenue. It's not reflected in this, but it will make it a much better picture. Actually, we have been very conservative and reduced it by, I think it was 7% from what we got last year, thinking we have a hard time always getting this number out of Department of Revenue. And they sent over an estimate, which their estimates, when they do send them, usually are within 0.5%. So that's pretty solid numbers. They had actually increased it by 7.5%.
Oh.
So that's a $500,000
Yeah,
number
that's a big
right
swing.
there.
Yeah.
So that's gonna help
Terrific.
us make, one of our goals is to try and get off of the leases for the Chromebooks.
Mhm.
And that was something in the temporary one that you're seeing now, it's not reflected in there because we just barely had enough to have revenues and expenses match each other and stay balanced. And there's a lot of unknowns because of what's happening in the economy, where ordering things become more difficult and prices change for a lot of things that we buy. Certainly, we've reflected as much as we can from contracts that we have or just information that we have, but it's a very tentative budget. And so there'll be things like that, corporate personal property replacement tax figure that will be we'll obviously make that change over the next 30 days, and we'll make small changes and we'll report it in September when we present the final, for being the final budget. So it's a tentative budget, that's an important term. But it does have some, really, before we got the news from the Department of Revenue, we were balanced in terms of the operating revenues and expenditures, which is, we were $150,000 actually on the positive side of revenues over the expenditure side. So we were in a balanced position. Some of the things that we're going to do are big one-time things, and the key thing here is the T99 property. One way or another, we have to come up with what could be up to almost $4 million for renovation and expansion of that facility, or we're going to have to be putting kids out in tuition basis, and that's very expensive, and it's against our wish to keep every child in our own community and have them in our own schools and not sending them outside of Downers Grove or any of our towns. So it's a primary issue that we're trying to address, and actually we have a $3.9 million transfer proposed from working cash to do the majority of that work, and we are still working on tentative numbers. We don't know exactly where we'll be. It could be as high as 4.9 million, so we're going to try and get ourselves in a position where we can come up with another $1 million. I think we can do it in our operations. If we know going in we're going to have to get there, I think we can make changes to get it. It'll be cutting back some other capital stuff, but we think we can make it either way. So that's a key thing, really, that that $3.9 million is reflected in here. So the part of the drop, we go from last year when we had $9.4 million to this year $5.1 million in our reserves. The good news is the actual revenues and expense for ongoing regular operations are balanced, basically. And we have this new news on this other grant that are the replacement taxes that'll help us take care of some of the things internally. I'm going to let Jeree roll through the revenues and expenditures and any comments she has. I don't know if you, hopefully you've had a chance to look at it and read the report. There were two things we put in there just to see if you really read it. There were misspellings. So let's see if you can find them. They don't, they refer to if we're here instead of get in touch with us, so for little spelling issues. Counts are great with
It's like,
numbers.
where's Waldo of
We're good with
finance?
numbers, we're
Yeah.
good with numbers, we really are. Sometimes the English is difficult.
Well, I would just point out on the revenues that really the only change that's noteworthy is some of our grant funding is decreasing. So Title I is one, and the other would be from the CARES Act. Obviously, we'll still receive some this year, but not as much as we did this past year. And then on the expenditures, I would highlight 3 areas. One, we see a pretty good increase in supplies. Not so much on this, that's for all the funds combined, but if you look in your report, the education fund supply line item is taking a pretty big jump, and that's due to we bought new textbooks this year and some additional software. Another line item to look at would be the tuition. You can see that there. It's a pretty big jump. That's due to additional special ed students. They're going to be outplaced this year. And then we also have, I think, about 40 more students attending TCD this year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, over 40 actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot more.
Yeah. And then the last item would be transportation. Our transportation projected costs are going up by $750,000, and that's primarily due to the increase in the contracts for both special education and regular ed transportation.
Okay. So I think and the last exhibit is non-operating funds, which we have 2 funds that are not part of our annual or operating funds. Only because the transactions are so large and so seldom or tied to one particular event that it doesn't help to really do comparisons, and it muddies up the operating expenses. If you issue a bond and then now you've got $1 million more, but if it's for a capital project, it doesn't stay in there, it goes to a capital project fund, which is also offline. So anyways, that's why we just show this as a separate diagram. The key thing here is that we've been paying this from operating funds rather than, this is $500,000 last year, it was more than $1 million. We're paying down a lot of interior loans, and we issued debt service extension base certificates to pay out, and we're paying those down. Rather than increase our tax rate, we try to find a way to do it internally. We're slowly getting all those paid off, but we're doing it from operating funds instead of issuing more debt. And so that's really the key takeaway. These are the transactions. There'll be $4.9 million, we think, in capital projects. That's the T99 facility. We're allowing for that much right now. And it's going to come from the 4.9. 3.9 is going to come out of operating funds, and then another $1 million, like I said, is in our capital project funds. We still have, where are we? Get my debt service funds. 4.9 million in total. But we have $1 million from the master facility plan. That's mostly interest, actually, of interest earnings, but also partly actual bond proceeds from the $136 million renovation that we're doing. So those are the transactions going through this part of the budget.
So I know we're going to allocate some of the leftover monies from the 136 million.
Well, we're down to 1.1 million, and we were planning on using most or all of that on renovation, upward renovation of
Right.
some of the classes that weren't touched.
Right.
And that's why we're trying to push that project. We also, the T99 is something that we have to do.
Yeah.
And it's it's very difficult now to even project what the costs are gonna be
Yeah.
for the materials for that, because that market is
Yep.
crazy right now, so.
So what you're saying is that 1.1 is staying for the renovations in the older
Yeah,
classrooms?
we're
It's
holding
not
back
shifting
on
over to
doing any more
T99?
right
No,
now.
shifting over to T99.
It is shifting over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's shifting over to T99.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're gonna do those later.
Actually, that one, we'll bring this in more detail at the next board meeting, because we didn't want to, like,
Muddy the
mingle that
waters.
budget with the overall budget. But fundamentally, what's left in the master facility bonds, or master facility plan
Project,
funds,
yeah.
outside of interest, is about 400,000,
100,000 of the original
Right.
bond.
which is the amount that we had talked about shifting for classroom
Right.
improvements. We hadn't talked about using the interest funds at this point yet,
Okay.
Yeah,
so.
there's about 700 in interest and 400 in original bonds, so that's the 1.1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So at the next meeting, we'll bring a full report of the master facility plan, the full closed-out budget of that, and then a recommendation for what we do to fund in full the T99 project. This is kind of the overall of how that fits into the larger budget. We just wanted to be careful that, we didn't confuse the two budgets as we brought them forward for first review right now.
I guess I have a quick question for Scott. Some of those, in the slide before, the
Tuition?
tuition
Yep.
money, are those students gonna be coming back when we get the T99
Yeah, we have it,
project
yeah, that's a
completed?
good question. We have it projected right now that some will, yes. So that
Okay.
will help us. We
Okay.
kind of factored that in.
Because
as we were
then,
projecting out.
we could save,
Mhm.
Right,
a couple million maybe,
right.
on that.
Yeah, no, we have a number of students that they'll go through like 9th through 12th grade, and then they'll go to the transition program from an outplacement.
Okay.
So
all
back
right.
into our community,
Okay,
which
all
would be
right,
nice.
okay.
Yeah, we're spoiling the big reveal for September, but,
Oh,
no,
I'm
that's all right.
sorry, I
No,
didn't
no,
mean
you're
to-
fine, Jerry. I'm just being silly,
Wait, do
but.
I know about it?
Yes, you do know about it.
Nice,
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise, Mark's gonna find the money. No, but it is a key piece of the T99 expansion project that tuition line reduces, and over time, the expansion of T99 is a cost offset, right? Long-term, it should save the district money to invest in that expansion at this point, right? It's
Keep 'em in
just,
districts,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
an upfront cost and a long-term savings.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I thought, so. just thought
That was the big reveal.
I- Sorry, I thought I'd clarify.
There was gonna be confetti and everything, but.
Oh, I
We don't have the
blew
budget
it,
for it.
I'm sorry, gosh.
That's it.
I love confetti.
All right, any questions from Mark or Jeree?
No, thank you
All right,
both.
the budget will be put on display for the next month, or might already be on display.
It'll be on display Wednesday of this week.
Of this week for the next month, then,
September 19th is the board meeting where we'll be looking for approval. So you have to have 30 days, and we will have 30 days for people in the community to question that or ask us about it, maybe suggest changes.
Is that gonna give you time to do the changes that you got on Friday?
mhm.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that plan, yeah, that's already.
That's a nice change.
That's a
That-
good one that we
Yeah,
know
that's
about
found
already.
money.
Yeah, historically, they've been very good with projecting their transfers to us.
Okay,
So it was really good news because it's a solid support that we've had. Actually, it's coming back. We've had over $3 million in the past, but then they cut it to where it was about,
Yeah.
yeah.
$1 million,
yeah.
and now they've finally been putting it back into the replacement tax for schools. They've been using it for other things. And now we're back on the good list, I guess.
Well, let's stay on that good
Yes.
list.
Well, I appreciated the conservative outlook on it to begin with, just to be sure,
Yeah.
so, it's good news.
So public hearing in September, and then we'll come to the board for approval of the final budget. All right.
E-learning.
E-learning days, this is, just to be 100% clear, this is for snow days, right? This is only for those days that are emergency days in which some kind of an emergency situation would require us to close school. We're limited to up to 5 of these per year for those emergency circumstances where we 3 years ago went into our first plan. We had 1 snow day that first year, then we had COVID, and then last year we had 2 days. From that, we believe out of those 3 days that we experienced over those 3 years, we feel that synchronous check-in at the start of each class period is a better model. Obviously, we learned a lot over the time that we were remote and all of that, and recognize that this is a much better way to run those remote days. So it'll be synchronous check-in. Attendance will be taken by the teacher at the start of each class. As always, parents can contact the attendance office to submit an excusal for that whole day. We also announced to parents this last week that now through the parent access that parents can actually go in through their portal and submit absences that way, also in advance. So nice feature
To help.
upgrade for families. So they
Wish
could
we
take
had that.
advantage of that on a snow day as well. So
Yeah.
public hearing later tonight for public comment on this single item, if anybody wishes to address the board on it. But this is an action item later this evening. Rob, did I miss anything?
That's it.
Hey, oh, I got it.
My wife and I were talking about this earlier tonight too, how the kids may not like it because they don't get the snow day, but it sure is helpful at the end of the year to help, to basically, you can have more confidence that the last day of school is actually,
Last day of school.
the last day that you're planning is actually going to be the last day, and we're not gonna have to add a couple more into the following week or something. This makes that possible, so.
And they'll get to enjoy their summer.
And which, yeah, is usually more enjoyable kind of days, so, yeah.
All right, so we'll have a public hearing and then an action item later on this evening.
Okay, freedom of information.
Freedom of information requests, we've received them, we have filled them. They're all available and listed on the website for public review.
All right, we're going to move on to the public hearing. We will now open the public hearing on the e-learning plan for emergency days. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have anybody?
I don't have anybody with a slip, but this is an unusual one, so if there was anybody in the audience that would like to come up and address e-learning days. Hearing none.
Okay. So now we need a motion for the Board of Education to close the public hearing on the e-learning plan for emergency days.
So seconded.
Terry and Mike.
Terry first.
Thank you very much. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza. Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the public hearing is closed. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes.
Nancy, can I just interject? You have in your packets an updated personnel report. We had 1 additional hire since this was
Oh,
posted.
Okay. Oh,
So that's Rachel Walker, but you can see it's in the updated in your packet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good news.
Good news.
We need a motion for the Board of Ed to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes the personnel report, appointments certified, transfer of position classified, appointments classified, the personnel report, resignations certified, resignations classified, retirements administration, salary adjustment network systems manager, financial pages, 2022-23 concussion oversight team, and the 2022-23 crisis de-escalation and physical management oversight team.
so moved.
Second. Terry and Joanna?
Thank you very much. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the consent agenda carries. Next, we'll move into the recommendations for action. We need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the 2022-2023 grant allocations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Chris Terry?
Thank you. Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the motion carries. Next, we need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the e-learning plan for emergency days as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Sherelle?
Thank you. Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the motion carries. And finally, we need a motion for the Board of Education to accept the tentative budget for the 2022-23 for display purposes and establish 6:45 PM, September 19th, 2022, for the public hearing to be held here at the Administrative Service Center, 6301 Springside Avenue, Downers Grove, Illinois.
So moved.
Second.
Terry and
I
Joanna. Sorry, Chris. we'll just-
I'm sorry.
Terry and
Terry and
Joanna.
Joanna.
Okay, thank you. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the motion carries. Now we'll move to the second reception of visitors, which is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Comments are limited to 3 minutes to provide all visitors an equal opportunity to address the board. Individuals needing more time should submit their thoughts in writing to the board secretary, Mrs. Nidek. Visitors addressing the board need to submit a comment slip to the board secretary and will be invited to the microphone. Prior to addressing the board, audience members should state their full name. The proceedings are being tape recorded for the purpose of producing accurate meeting minutes, and we are streaming. And I, the board's president, reserve the right to modify these protocols if circumstances warrant. Audience observation of these protocols is appreciated.
All right, I have 3 slips right now. First up, Rich Brennan.
Hi, I'm Rich Brennan. I'm a Downers Grove resident. I'm going to read some parts of a sad resignation letter from a high school teacher in a nearby school. I resigned from my teaching position of 17 years because I cannot, in good moral standing, teach students well based on current administrative policies. Based on my 24 years of experience as a high school teacher, it's my opinion that some of these policies are immoral. Our school has changed these things in the following recent years. Homework not scored. Homework no longer scored as any part of the student's grade. Because of this, an average of 50% of my sophomores this year consistently didn't do their homework. 80 students know that they will not be marked down, so we are essentially encouraging students not to work. Many students don't do the work unless they get credit for it. No due date. Administration forces teachers not to have a set due date on major assignments and essays and projects. The students know they can turn it in anytime in 2 weeks after that, and I can't consider it late when it comes to grading. This reinforces laziness, apathy, disrespect. About 70% of my seniors turn in their assignments late. This teaches academic failure. Revisions. Once I grade their assignments and turn it back to them, they have 2 more weeks to decide to revise when it comes to grading. This reinforces the laziness, the fact that so many students do not do their homework. They don't learn the skills to do well in these soft grading policies. This isn't making students college ready. College students probably won't get this opportunity, and certainly the business world is unforgiving if this is what they come to get the game with when they're learning. Failure is being removed from the high school world. Instead of teaching discipline and hard work, policies at many high schools are reinforcing D standards. If a student doesn't turn in a project, they still receive 50% credit in some places. How does the administration see this as morally just, giving the students credit for doing nothing? I tried to fight for what I thought was right. My fight got me a notice of remedy on probation from the administration. I argued my case in front of the Board of Education, but the board defended the administration. Parents, I'm writing this to you, not the administration. I care about your students. Quality change will not come from the administration or the board or the students, even the teachers. The teachers are wonderful, caring people, but they don't have a strong enough communal voice to make these kind of changes. Parents, demand that the policies that are harming your kids be changed in that board level. This is the declining academic failure that we've all seen. Here in D99, the failure rate, the academic rate is not going in the right direction. We need to have it fixed. Thank you.
The next slip is from Noel Manley.
Good evening. My name is Noel Manley, and I'm a resident of Darien, Illinois. The United States is a country filled with systemic love, kindness, and fairness. And District 99 is a community filled with systemic love, kindness, and fairness. I'm requesting that the board formally vote on opting out of Senate Bill 0818, which makes the National Sex Education Standard available for Illinois school districts to implement. The current recommendation of not opting in or not opting out creates an ambiguity as to where the district stands on this matter. Simply stating present is not enough. The highly inappropriate and graphic nature of the National Sex Education Standard should be clearly delineated by the board. Therefore, I respectfully request the board formally vote on this matter in order to give the District 99 community a clear understanding as to where the district stands on this matter. Second, regardless of the National Sex Education Standard, I call on the district to be transparent and make the current and/or any proposed sex education curriculum available for the public for review. Currently, only those parents who have children in this class can view the curriculum. Note that this curriculum issue has nothing to do with any specific student or employee of the district, and therefore should be made available to any taxpayer. I find it odd that this information is not available to the public. I don't want to speculate on what is in the curriculum. However, without transparency, speculation is all we have. Is the curriculum pushing an agenda? Does the curriculum go beyond health and discuss inappropriate topics or present graphic material? We just don't know. So please be transparent and let the public know what is in the curriculum. Thank you.
Next slip is from Eileen Briner.
Eileen Briner, Downers Grove. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm talking about the goals and tasks. I understand that you've already approved them, but I'd still like to state my case about the goals and tasks that you've approved a couple weeks ago. So in reading through the district goals and tasks, I find a lot about feelings and little about academic excellence, exceeding expectations, rigorous work ethic, or competitive spirit. You have a goal for students on the path to failing a course and to actively seek out students that are not performing at their full potential and work to bring their performance more in line with their ability. That's out of a 5-page document. I don't see any goal about encouraging students to do more than expected. None of the goals have any metrics in them, so at the end of the year, success can be proclaimed. I'd like to suggest a goal with metrics. Greatschools.org is a website that ranks schools' performance. For example, Hinsdale Central has an overall score of 9 out of 10. Westmont has a score of 10. Naperville Central is a 9. Naperville North is a 9. Downers Grove North is an 8. Downers Grove South is a 7. I'd like to see a goal of bringing District 99 scores both up to a 9 to be in line with the surrounding schools. People looking to move into this area look to the Great Schools website to compare schools. They often choose to buy a home in the higher scoring school districts. This means more buyers for homes in these areas, and that translates into higher prices for the homes in these areas. If scores for District 99 went up, it would be a nice return on investment for the taxpayers who pay for all the facilities and all the salaries here. The cost per student at D99 is $19,000 per student per year. For that price, we should at least measure up to our neighboring schools, don't you think? Thank you.
That's the conclusion.
Okay. Upcoming board meetings on September 12th, we will have a workshop meeting 6:30 here at the Administrative Service Center, and on September 19th, we'll have a regular business meeting at 6:30 here on the Administrative Service Center. Center. I need a motion to
We
adjourn.
need communications.
Communications and
Oh,
announcements.
gosh, I'm sorry.
Wait, you
It's,
forgot.
it fell off the thing. Lend, do we have any updates?
No land updates yet, next
Okay.
month.
Joanna Stassett?
No Sassett.
I know you got a big meeting coming up.
Yeah, our meeting coming up.
99?
We are meeting Wednesday because we are working on our block party. And that is September 10th
Getting closer.
at North High. And it's from, let's see, what is it? 4 to 8, I
I
think.
can't remember. I'd have to pull it up.
I don't remember
I'll pull it
the
up in a
time.
second here for you.
Maybe it's earlier, 3 to.
I thought it was
3 to
2.
6:30.
I got it from 2 to 6:30.
Yeah.
2
Yep,
to
2 to
6:30.
6:30.
Okay, that's the time.
And you're
So-
still looking for sponsors?
Yes, we are still looking for sponsorship, and your name, if you go on the website, it'll tell you where you would, depending upon how much you want to donate, where you would end up. But it'll be fun. There's games, we've got bands, we've got food trucks, and just a lot of camaraderie for the community. So I think it'll be a great time. It's a chance for North to have an event for the foundation, and so we're excited about that, to show off our facilities there. And we just encourage everyone to come, because it's a free event. You just have to pay for whatever food you want to eat, that kind of thing, so.
Who doesn't like to eat?
Well, that's it, that's it. And there will be a lot of varieties. There will only be one food truck for each thing, let's say. So there'll be one for hamburgers maybe and hot dogs, and one for ice cream, and,
Yes.
because we don't have to say ice cream twice, it's there. So anyway, please come. It'll be a great event, and you'll see your neighbors.
Chris, anything on Illinois Association of School Boards? Now we'll talk about the upcoming board meetings. I'm sorry.
You already did.
I went past it, so then we will move on to adjournment. We're going to call for adjournment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Barry and Sherrill, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, board members.
Much faster than I thought.